Patch 1.18.1 is now live, and this isn't just a content update. It's one of the biggest updates WoW has had in a really long time. We're getting major class changes, a full PvP overhaul, and a lot of new content on top of that. So, in this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know. Let's dive right into it. But before that, let's just take a look at the upcoming patch release timings for every server. On Friday, the 20th of March at 10 o'clock, that's my time. Whenever you check this on Discord, it's calculated to your time zone. So all realms will be taken down or taken offline to begin updating to 1.18.1. We estimate that this will take approximately 6 hours, but this number is subject to change. On Embouchure, we will look to open Blackwing Lair Friday the 20th after the patch rollout. On Northrunner and Telebim, we will release Timbermoor Hold on Friday 27th of March. And additionally, with the release of this patch, please note that the first implementation of our summonable world boss mechanic will be implemented. For the new PvP system, honor and rank progression starts immediately. However, PvP, world events, and arena progression starts on Wednesday, the 1st of April. And finally, all raids will be reset when patch is released. But before we dive into the details, let's have a look at the trailer for this entire patch. So yeah, just an insane amount of stuff is going into this one. Huge amounts, and can't wait to get into this. The new patch will bring Moon Whisper Coast, a brand new late leveling zone, Windhorn Canyon, one challenging dungeon, Timbermoor Hold, an all new 20-man raid designed to be harder than the existing 20-man raids. In addition, the iconic vanilla raids Onyxia's Lair and Blackwing Lair will receive some fresh touches and improvements. There will be new PvP events, survival profession rework, new items, and much, much more. Stay tuned. And everything is out, so let's just dive into this new zone. Moon Whisper Coast, zone level 50 to 56. Clad in moonlit splendor, this stretch of Kalimdor land is as mysterious as it is bewitched. Spirits of forlorn highborn haunt the abandoned elven ruins, and alien magic permeates the blue forest of this humid shore. An unbound land only a few would willingly call their home. Yet it became such a haven for the wandering Tauren tribe of Moonhoof, now holding watch over the azure expanse of the chaotic Moonwhisper coast. And they've got some really cool artwork done here and a lot of images. If I have some in-game footage of this, I'll put it on screen now so you guys can check it out and see how it looks in real life. But here are some pictures. I'm getting a little bit of Darkshore vibes mixed with some elven stuff. This one really looks awesome as well. But a lot of elvish stuff in here in this zone. And here we have the Tauren architecture with the blue trees and the bluish taint hue. Look at this one. That really looks awesome. And we see the big moon in the background here. Very fitting. And here's the map just north of Winterspring. There's actually a trailer here on their Twitter account. So let's take a look at that. Just the detail and everything, guys. It's insane the amount of effort going into something like this. So much going on. Is that a ley line? Probably is. Damn, that is really an awesome zone. Then we got the new dungeon, Windhorn Canyon, a 5-man dungeon from level 26 to 30. This ancient canyon has been home to many Tauren tribes who have in years past fought for the dominance of its flowing waters and shelter from the dangers of Kalimdor. The cultures and traditions of many have lived within Windhorn Canyon, which can be seen from the ancient shelters carved into the mountainside to the relics coveted by the Tauren. As of recently, the Windhorn Tauren were expelled and driven away by the Grim Totem, who have conquered it and claimed it for their own. And here we have some, well, that's not working. Here we have some art and some more images. Also looking really cool, really awesome looking dungeon. With all the bridges here you see, guys, it's gonna be a neat one, this one, I can tell. Maybe a hard one to navigate as well. We'll have to see, but it really looks awesome. It's gotta be one of the better looking dungeons I've seen in a really long time. And here we have a image of the map. And another thing I just love about Turtle Wows, they've made custom maps, not only for the new dungeons, but for the old dungeons as well. So whenever you open your map, you can actually see where you are inside of every single dungeon in the game now, and where bosses are located. So that's awesome. And here we have a little trailer of the new dungeon. Let's take a look.
Long ago, the Tauren sought refuge from the harshness of the world. Many tribes battled for dominance, and those that could harness the great flowing waters and shelter of the canyon were those that were the strongest. The first were the Cloudhoof, and then the Stonemane, before conflict and deceit broke apart the tribes and scattered them to become nomads. The Windhorn are not the first, and certainly not the last. To think they can claim this ancestral site as their own. Violence and dominance are a part of our world as much as any other creature. Do not let our times fool you, outsider. Cairn thinks he can determine the destiny of the Tauren? To become one with the Horde? Bah, we Tauren have always found our own path, and the Blackwind are no different.
Awesome. Really looks like a big dungeon. Can't wait to get into that one. And some new looks, artwork. This is like taking out of the Warcraft 3 playbook, like what Taurens actually look like with the big totem thing. So it's awesome to see some new art, new character models. And this is the big pole arm that Kayn uses in Warcraft 3. Then we have another new dungeon here, Frostmane Hollow. New 5-man dungeon, levels 13 to 20. Here's the map. Great artwork as well. And here we have a video of the dungeon.
My name be Kanza. Kanza the Seer, they call me. I see things. I see the future, and you ain't in it. That mean you nothing. The Frostmane be friends with the elements now, and it be time for you to go home, back to where you come. This be Frostmane land. This be our land. You won't last long. Not in the future, I see.
These trailers are really getting good. Turtle Wow team, you're doing a great job with this. It's really awesome. And another new raid. This is the highlight of this patch. Timbermore Hold, a new 20-man raid. As ancient as Kalimdor itself, this enigmatic labyrinth network of tunnels and caves beneath Mount Hyjal has been the home of the Furbox since well before the Sundering. Its halls are sacred among the tribes, a place of worship to their progenitors, the twin gods Ursok and Ursel. Nowadays, however, only wafts of putrid vapors escape the rotten caverns, and whispers of venerating a foul god echo throughout Timbermore Hold. Some of this went over my head, but it sounded really cool. And artwork here of the entrance. And here we have some images, what it looks like inside the raid. Again, really looks awesome. Take a look at this one. The bridge here and the sun coming down. Damn, this one as well. This really looks cool. Very original. And this looks like a boss, maybe Ursok or Ursel. And here we have some new gear dropped from inside the dungeon. Also really looks awesome. The wooden and tribe-like theme going through. And these are looking to be some mobs. And here we have the Furbog. We got some new skins, maybe even a model or two. But it's really fitting. I like what they've done with all this. And a satyr. This could probably be a boss or something. And let's have a look at the Temple Hold raid trailer.
Can you feel it? The shadow, lingering, consuming, decaying. This is my domain. This is my home. The Withermaw follow my command. They follow my will. You do not belong here. You are not welcome here. Be gone before you are torn limb from limb! Timbermaw tried to stop me. Loktanag tried to stop me. Now look at them. Puppets. You will find nothing here but a gruesome death.
And then we have Onyxia's Lairs extension and updates. The brood mother of the Black Dragon fight has fought back many incursions into her lair, each inching closer to her demise. For this reason, the security in her lair has been elevated, now featuring new guardians, the commander of her brood as a brand new boss, and new tricks for Onyxia herself. The nest is now more perilous than ever. Lucky for you, peril attracts treasure, adding plenty of new equipment as rewards. They added 2 new creatures to Onyxia's lair, the Oxian Flamespawn and Oxian Inciter. Added new section, with it a new optional boss, the Brood Commander Axelios. There we go. And new mechanics for Onyxia herself. And here we have some images. Looks awesome. Got some toast humans over here, burnt to crisp. And seems like it's a different path leading to elite boss, and this could be the commander himself. Looking nice looking axe here. Wonder if that's gonna be a one-handed or a two-handed. Looks too big to be a one-handed axe, so probably some new loot. And then there's a Blackwing Lair extension and updates. Lord Victor Nefarious recently realized that his pitiful minions have been insufficient in preventing interlopers from walking up to his doorstep. Therefore, he has taken steps in improving his entourage with no small amount of help from his newly contracted alchemist. Essel Darkbrewer might be a goblin of small stature, but he is by no means a pushover. With an arsenal of chemical concoctions and a brilliant mind sharpened by many years in the field, he is ready to thwart any intruders stepping into his employer's laboratory. Oh, and don't forget the lumbering ogre he's atop of. And that is this one guy. We have the goblin and the ogre beneath here. Kind of looks like also taken out of Warcraft 3, right? There's a hero in the hero shop, alchemist hero in the hero shop, if I remember correctly. You can get that. Kind of has the same model, a ogre with a goblin on top. So you can really tell where they're getting their inspiration from. That's awesome to see many of this is being implemented. Added new mechanic or updated a mechanic for all bosses with the exception of Chromagos. Added a new section with it, a new optional boss. And here we have Essel Dark Brewer. And then we have some classic zone edits. Sag's Refuge, a new quest hub in 1,000 Needles for Horde players located in the Windhaunt Canyon. And Ironstone Camp, updated Ironstone Camp in 1,000 Needles with more details. And then we have Earthen Ring. Earthen Ring has been restored as a sanctuary for shamans to train and work towards restoring balance to Azeroth. And Ashara has been updated to show the Timbermore Hold Gate and the fur box that live along the cliffs above it. Timbermore Hold Gate allows transport to the new raid as well as between Moonwhisper Coast and Ashara. Okay, interesting. Maybe I'll show some footage of this in-game. You guys can see what's going on if I get some footage of this. But here we have some images of the updated. This looks to be in 1,000 Needles, and this looks like it is right before a grey desert in 1,000 Needles. I can't remember what that's called. Oh yeah, the Shimmering Flats. This is right before the Shimmering Flats, and this is probably the Earthen Ring and the Tauren camp, and some more Tauren assets here. Then we have new factions. Draenei Exiles, neutral. The Draenei tribes from Outland that have survived the rigors of warp travel and now find themselves upon new lands. The San and the Morogai tribes now reside on Azeroth, brought to the planet by adept Riftwalkers. The Draenei exiles now seek to make a new chapter of prosperity for their people. And this is actually taken from a much earlier post that the Turtwile team did long ago, hinting at a new mount, crocodile mount, that you can get from the Draenei exiles by getting exalted with them. So really looks awesome. And the Earthen Ring, which are Horde only, a group of shamans united in their quest for elemental balance, has made their home in the serene Stone Talon Mountains. So this is probably it, right? This is in the Stone Talon Mountains. And we have some Nightmares of Ursel gear and mounts. Taking a look at this. This one looks like it could be from Onyxia, the commander thing, while these definitely look like something from could be inside of Timbermore Hold. And some mounts with different colors, a bear mount. And they've got some really interesting news. We got some new race and class combinations. Tauren Priest. So yeah, guided by the gaze of the celestial siblings, the children of the Earth Mother have faced many hardships while still staying true to their deities. Their effort to rekindle the ancestral bond between celestial and mortal have granted them the boon of the three siblings. Yet, while Musha and Anshi seek to bless those of goodwill, the younger sibling, Losho, is known to answer any who seek his blessings, regardless of intent. And so the fate of the Horde twists under the gaze of the Earth Mother. As Tauren across the land seek to represent and spread their cultural worship, either through acts of hope and order or dismay and chaos. Well, that's very interesting. We're getting Tauren Priests now. And then there is another new one here. Dwarf Warlock. Power is alluring, even more so if it is forbidden. The noble Bronzebeard Dwarves are no exception to that. In the wake of the Gnomes' refuge in Ironforge, some of their more morally flexible members have established a secret coven within the mountain city, practicing the shadowy arts of demonology away from the gaze of the simple folk. Initially cautious, they have accepted many eager dwarves into their ranks, teaching them the heretical summoning of demons and subservience to their dark masters. That seems fitting. A dwarf warlock makes sense. Now we just need Turtwile to realize that We also want dwarf shamans and undead paladins. That would be awesome. Let's make that one happen, Turtle Wow. I'd love to see it. Like dwarves, it's fitting because, dwarves are connected to the earth, just like shamans are. And during the Third War, a lot of paladins died to the Scourge. So if we already got some undead paladins at Light Hope's Chapel, I think there is a paladin. Undead paladin. And you have undead priests. So if you say that undead priests may wield the light, then why not undead paladins? It makes sense lore-wise that there should also be a bunch of resurrected paladins in the undead ranks. So I think you could make that fit, and that would really help, especially the PvP server Tel Abyss, where it's a faction locked, like there's no cross-faction, right? And I'd love to play an undead paladin as well. I hope to see that in the future. And then there's some PvP dampening. PvP dampening debuff introduced in 1.18 will now have dynamic reductions of magical and physical damage based on your class/spec instead of a flat number for all classes. And we'll dive a little bit more into the PvP changes as we move on to that section. But there's also a new battleground, Thorn Gorge, introducing a 15 versus 15 Eye of the Storm style battleground. Teams capture flags and bases until they reach a maximum resource point needed to win. So much like a Raffi Basin, just with the flag in the middle as well. And this is basically Eye of the Storm with a new skin. So I'd just love to see that. They've not gone out and experimented on their own. They're pulling in easy wins with this one, because this is a battleground we know functions well. Everything's working perfectly as it is. It's just a fitting Vanilla Plus reskin on a very known and awesome battleground. So yeah, awesome job as well on this one. Something that really can't go wrong. And they say Sunny Glade Valley under construction. Okay, Sunny Glade Valley, our first dedicated PvP map from 2021, didn't turn out to be a pinnacle of game design. Okay, therefore patch 1.18 disables this battleground, and in future patches we will focus on a full rework to make it far more engaging and balanced. That's awesome. Yeah, this was a battleground. I think I've been in this battleground once, and I had no clue what to do. So, and it wasn't really something that people signed up for. So it's good to see that they're not giving up on this one. They're just reworking it, and we'll see this in a future update. And then there's some world PvP events: Red Wall Keep and South Shore versus Torn Mill. Take part of the upcoming open world PvP events. Conquer Red Wall Keep and defend Torn Mill or South Shore. Honor your faction by joining these battles and gain exclusive rewards. We'll check out the PvP changes a little bit later in this video. Survival skill overhaul. As our first profession, survival skill was held back by limited resources and inexperience. The ideas were fresh and exciting, and while many concepts such as tents and gardening received great reception after refinements, the profession ultimately did not live up to its potential. Survival was originally scrapped during the vanilla development cycle. Because of this, we had a blank slate to work with and could steer the profession towards a role that fits alongside others. For that reason, we decided to give survival a more complementary function with an extensive overhaul. The new reworked survival profession will act as a secondary profession that draws from other primary professions and supplements them with advantages for players who raise their survival skill further. This is reflected in the over 80 new recipes added to the profession. For example, skilled survivalists can create powerful tools that can slow, root, or even trap opponents. Okay, that's gonna be very interesting to see in PvP. They can also craft bags suitable for the 3 gathering professions, as well as containers for fish and meat. This provides a unique experience in creating and enhancing synergy between different professions. To give survival additional depth, we are linking it to a new gathering activity, woodcutting. Okay, so this is basically what they did on the Warcraft Reborn Bronzebeard server. Directly tied to your survival skill, woodcutting lets you search forests in the open world for wood and other materials needed for the profession. Of course, gardening will also receive several new additions. We will introduce 3 new crops that players can find in specific zones throughout the world. When fully grown, these crops will grant powerful buffs to ambitious gardeners. Additionally, reports indicate that unwelcome critters have begun infiltrating the crops of unsuspecting adventurers. So maybe there's some management now needed to keep the critters out of your garden. With this overhaul, we aim to cement survival's place among the other professions and elevate it to a one-of-a-kind position not seen before in Warcraft. We hope you'll have plenty of fun scouring the world for materials and using the many tools to increase your chances for surviving the wilds. And now we get into some specifics. Tents and taverns. Both taverns and tents now grant the rested experience bonus at the same pace. Okay, so if you go to an inn, you'll get the same amount of rested bonus as you otherwise would with the tent system. So yeah, I did like that there was some extra effect with the tent, but yeah, it's become a very integral part of Turtle WoW leveling. So, and now that they have a challenge that just removes this effect, so for people who were interested in leveling in the normal vanilla style or with the normal vanilla pace, there are some rewards combined with that, I think, with that challenge when you create a character. So there's still this option. So I'm fine with this, honestly. Rested XP from killing creatures was reduced to 50% bonus instead of the previous 100% bonus. So is this a change that's coming in this patch? They're reducing the amount of bonus experience from killing mobs. So instead of you getting 100% more experience whenever you kill a mob in the world, when you have rested experience, you're only getting 50% more experience. That's still good, but it is of course a lot less. But it makes up for the ease of getting rested experience in the game, because you basically at some point you'd actually just prefer grinding mobs, because that would net you more experience than doing quests. So with this nerf, it balances things out, questing or grinding mobs, which is better, probably either or now. Tent's rested XP bonus was capped at 25% of players' rested XP. Tents provide no benefit if the player has more than 25% rested experience. And if I'm understanding this correctly, previously tents would give you up to 150% rested experience. So now that's been nerfed completely. Now you actually want to go back to rest at inns to receive the maximum rested experience, which is 1.5 levels or 150%. At least that's how I understand this. All taverns, except those located in cities, can now raise players' rested experience up to 100%. Okay, so that's also a nerf. Instead of 150%, it's just 100%. So after this patch, it's gonna be a little bit tougher to level, because not only the benefit of rested experience is getting nerfed by half, but also the amount of rested experience you can have is getting nerfed. But instead, it's getting easier to get the rested experience, because basically every single inn in the game, or tavern in the game, now gives you this buff. And here we see an example of some new survival consumable. Heals the user for some amount over 12 seconds, stabilizing healing salve, and there's a premium fishing lure, cleaning cloth, seed shooter, weak healing salve, bundle of simple sticks, driftwood, fishing pole, there's a survivalist skinning knife, a hunting spear, gardening broom. Maybe we'll also see some bows, because only engineering can make guns, right? But there's no way of making crossbows and bows in the game, so it might be something that's part of the survival profession. And I kind of think this has to be minor things, right? Because a secondary profession is something that you can have alongside your two main professions. So it can't be too strong, the stuff that they're making in the survival profession. Else it would have to be a primary profession. I just don't hope this is going to be mandatory for PvP to have survival. I think it kind of already is with first aid, and I don't want too much of that. It's nice to have some things that are neat or nice to have, but hopefully not too much need to have. And then we got a new challenge, Trial of Heroism, which is a leveling challenge. Earn the Hero of Astaroth title by walking the hard road. Players undergoing this challenge will only earn XP from orange/red difficulty sources, both creatures or quests. This challenge ends at level 58. Alright, imagine having this one combined with hardcore. That's really gonna be a tough one. And I know you can combine several of these, so maybe there should be an achievement of having all of them combined or something. Class changes. I already made a video about this, so if you want to have a look at all the class changes coming, go check out. I'll put a link in the description as well. Go check out that video. I cover all the class changes and my take on those. Itemization changelog. We are happy to present you the itemization changelog for this. I will take a look at the itemizations and item changes after this one. And then we got some general changes. Shield render talisman can now be triggered by ranged physical attacks. Okay, that means hunters. And that is this talisman dropped from Cruel. Your melee attacks have a 7% chance to cause your physical attacks to ignore all armor for the next 3 seconds. And it also have a bunch of attack power. It now also applies to ranged physical attacks. And a bunch of miscellaneous UI fixes. There's Arena are back on the minimap Battleground Finder. That's nice. Character sheet now correctly displays the damage multiplier. Fixed missing creature pack linking in the Tower of Karasan. So a lot of miscellaneous changes or fixes, it seems. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm going to read through them and then I'm going to pick some of these out that I think are the most interesting. Added a shortcut to skip the suppression room after defeating Brute Lord Lash Slayer. And here we see an image of the shortcut. So that's nice. There's no need to go through the entire suppression room once you've already defeated the boss attached to it. Improved stack split frame. You can now adjust split amounts with the mouse wheel. Use shift plus mouse wheel to snap to min/max and shift click to purchase vendor items in stacks greater than 1. A nice convenience. And here we have some adjusted cooking recipes and also 2 new cooking recipes right here. Let's take a look. Hot smoked bass going from 10 spirit to 30 spirit. Cooked glossy mite fish going from 10 stamina to 15 spell penetration. Mite fish steak going from 10 stamina to 20 strength. And Dirk's Kitchen Chimorok chops going from 25 stamina to 30 stamina plus 2 dodge change. And then we have 2 new added cooking recipes. The Squid Eel Skewer grants 20 agility and Deep Sea Stew grants 20 health per 5 seconds and 150 armor. And those are some really powerful new recipes. Maybe it's time to start leveling cooking. They also added new crafted ammunition for guns in engineering, enchanted thorium shells. And they've added the 3.3.5 barbershop to the game. So we're getting the Wrath of the Lich King barbershop. Now we just need the Wrath of the Lich King client for all of this. So the game really runs smooth. That would be awesome. And keyring can now hold up to 32 keys. Fixed an issue causing the priest talent Darkness to not increase shadow damage of abilities correctly. So that's indirectly a buff, another buff to priests, which are already getting some buffs in the new patch. In-game options have now been redesigned. The 3 original frames, video, sound, and interface are now merged into a single unified frame, improving overall look and feel. And they've added a new group frame that can replace the existing party and raid frames. It is fully customizable via the in-game options menu. Is this also from Ref? It could be backporting things from newer clients, and they've added a search box for the key bindings frame, which is now also movable. So now you can actually search for specific key bindings. And Hunter shots now have a cast bar, so that's probably going to be a steady shot. Multi-shot has actually a short cast time, and aim shot. So that's really nice. Hopefully the add-on developers will update accordingly. And here's how the new options window is visually looking. So it's nice to have everything condensed. It looks much more like the ref client or any, newer client options. Hopefully some of these UI and interface updates will also make the game more sturdy. And it's not like a lot of the mods that they've implemented into the launcher, the vanilla fixes and stuff, is actually making the game run quite smooth. But you can always have some of this baked into the actual client, would be awesome to see. Or just porting everything to a newer client. And that's probably much easier said than done. I know. Let's move on to itemization, which I have here, 1.18.1 itemization changelog, and they're going to have some new stats added to the game. And I don't think I'm gonna go through everything in here, but I'll just, again, like before, pick out the most interesting stuff. So this is the item changes, and as always, this is a little funny pun. Keep in mind, all changes are subject to change. Yeah, we've added new items and new item sets to the following sources and locations: quest rewards, Moonwhisper Coast, rare creatures in the new zone, new dungeons, of course, the new raid, rare bind on equipped items from non-boss creatures, raid extension, player versus player combat, survival rework, reputation, Earthen Ring and Draenei Exiles, and there are some secret methods. Interesting. Then we have a new stat called Fortune. Fortune is a new stat that reads the following: increase your chance to trigger chance-based item effects by X%. This stat is quite unique in the way that it does not function on its own, but serves to amplify any other piece of gear that has a chance to trigger an effect, working on both procs per minute or flat percentage chance items. So this is, as I understand it, this is only for other items that has a chance to proc, and it's gonna amplify this by X%. So it's not something for spells, it's only for items. Due to its compounding power with multiple chance-based items, the Fortune stat can only be found on necklaces, cloaks, and trinkets. Okay, that's really nice that they are confining this to items that already are niche, or like trinkets already is an item with very unique effects. You can find a bunch of trinkets with a very, very unique effects, and adding this to maybe cloaks and necklaces as well is could be very, very interesting, and really change those cookie cutter gear lists. Like whenever you see a best in slot list for this and this class or spec, now much more need to go into that consideration. Because say you have a different weapon with a proc chance on the weapon, then that may change which necklaces, cloaks, and trinkets you'd want to have. So I really like this. This seems very, very interesting. And as long as they can control the power of this, because I can see that some people can come up with some really ridiculous builds. But again, that's also some of the fun of the game, right? It is coming up and theory crafting some ridiculous and or maybe very just interesting build that is part of what makes theory crafting in World of Warcraft fun. So, but of course, it needs to be contained, because else things can get really out of hand. But I like the idea. I really like the idea. And then there's a new stat, Avoidance. Avoidance is a new stat that reads the following: reduce the damage you take from area of attacks by X%. First added as an effect provided to all Hunter and Warlock pets for them to survive massive area of effect attacks. Is now an effect acquirable by you, albeit in smaller amounts. Due to the possibility of nullifying most area-based effects when attacked, the avoidance stat can only be found on cloaks and rings. Alright, so maybe we're gonna see something like 10% or 20% reduced damage taken from AoE effects. That's pretty much what I'm imagining on some rings and cloaks. So yeah, very interesting stats. And then there are some discipline alternative tier sets plus shadow tier 2.5 set. The rework done to priest's discipline specialization to be a smite slinging damage and support specialization has opened a gap in the itemization for the specialization due to the lack of holy damage oriented gear. We are remedying this by adding tier sets tailored around discipline's stat requirements, and set bonuses that directly interact with its playstyle. In addition to this, now that all 3 priest specializations have their own tier sets, we are also adding a shadow tier set to the Temple of Anchorage, as the tier 2.5 set tends to differ from the norm. The shadow tier 2.5 focuses on critical strike chance, with the set bonus built around that fact. Okay, interesting. Something like crits was actually something that, like dots, no dots really scale with critical strike chance in vanilla. That happened in Wrath of the Lich King, where dots started to be able to crit, as far as I remember. So, or was it in Kara? I can't remember. Anyways, that is something very different. So I wonder how this is going to function. Maybe only on something like Pain Spike and Mind Blast. And then we have crafted item upgrades. We are introducing an experimental new way of keeping crafted equipment relevant. Specific bosses will now have a chance to additionally drop a new upgrade item, such as a sharpening stone. This item will be usable on specific items to upgrade them to the overall power level of the raid it's been acquired from, if not slightly higher, and include new effects. The caveat with this is that you need to be proficient in the profession that's required to make that item, such as requiring swordsmithing if it's an upgraded crafted sword, meaning these professions stay relevant for longer with special benefits should you acquire these upgrades. Now this is really what I love to see, because that is one thing that, in my opinion, should have been part of vanilla or any MMO for that matter from the start and all the way to the end of its lifespan, is that the best gear in the game should always be acquired from crafting professions. That is the best or most healthy way to make sure that not only raids keep their relevance, but also professions and overall just gathering materials in the world keeps the economy going. It is preferable in all aspects of the game that the best gear in the game comes from crafting professions. And there are numerous reasons to why that is. Take, for instance, items like Hand of Ragnaros. Not only do you need materials gathered from out in the open world, it's not confined to a single raid, but you need to gather these materials from out in the open world, or if you can afford them, of course, buy them off of the auction house, which is a way for lower level players to make money, or for other players who may not be raiding or may not want to raid to actually be a part of the overall economy of the game. Not only that, you need these materials, you need a proficiency, so you need a specialization that only a few people have. This is in this game a weapons blacksmith, right? So you need somebody who is proficient in exactly that, which gives that person an extra niche. And then on top of that, a third tier of this is you need a specific material to drop from within a specific raid, or maybe several materials from several different raids. And that is also what keeps raids relevant even after they've been completed. That's why Molten Core in vanilla stays relevant throughout the entire vanilla, I don't want to say expansion, but the entire lifespan of vanilla World of Warcraft. Even when you're clearing Naxxramas, people are still going back and doing Molten Core because, one, they need their Fund of Furies, or they need a Hand of Ragnaros, or they are along their way of gathering the materials for Hand of Ragnaros. So exactly this is what keeps older raids relevant, and that's another tier of this, another great effect of this. If you make sure that these materials come from different raids, you make sure that the older raids, even though we are past those in maybe a power creep and linear progression, but they stay relevant because of one specific or a few specific items you need to upgrade a current item you have. Like the best in slot items are spread out over several content tiers, you could say. And that's very different from the way that something like Wrath of the Lich King or later expansions work, because you're only playing the newest patch of the game. Everything else becomes irrelevant. And this is what I'm getting at. This is what I think they're doing with these new profession or crafted profession items dropped from within the raids. And let's continue. This will initially be added to only Blackwing Lair, with it expanding to later tiers depending on how it is received. All right, that's a very good idea, and I hope to see this implemented the right way. So it doesn't become something that is mandatory, but it's an optional way of gearing. As I've always said, like an MMO or an RPG in any sort of way should not have cookie cutter ways of gearing. There should just be tons upon tons upon tons of options, and you pick whatever modality of gearing that you prefer, but nothing is better than others, right? There should just be lots of options and not one definitive answer. That's what makes MMORPGs or RPGs in general great, right? That is the amount of decisions and ways you have to, or options you have available. All right, moving on. Rogue and Warlock class weapons. Overhaul brings new class weapons with its opening, introducing new quest starters that will make rogues and warlocks embark on an adventure, eventually rewarding you with weapons that will last you for a long time, similar to Benediction, Anathema, and Rockdelar/Lockdelar. So that's the hunter, melee and ranged weapon, and this is the priest staff, which is a quest line. How you start these quest lines will leave to you to discover. It is half of the fun after all. I could not agree anymore. That is such an awesome little thing that again, now you have these, just like the hunters have and the priests have, these quest lines that you'll be able to embark on to get the specific class weapons. Awesome. Really love to see it. This is the passion we would never see from something like Blizzard. Would never be able to deviate from their slop. Imagine all the people who aren't playing on Turtle WoW are still stuck in Blizzard's classic versions of the game. How much they're missing out on. It's if you know about Turtle WoW, it is fascinating to me that people those who know about it haven't given it a try yet. Like that's where all of classic stems from, private servers. So to just go ahead and say, well, I don't want to play on a private server because this and that, it's like completely retarded to me. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's because of private servers we even got classic in the first place. So not supporting something like this is, I don't know, man. I cannot fathom it. But that's enough of my rant. Many of you who are my viewers know what I think about Blizzard. So yeah. All right. Existing item changes. There's a bunch of shaman gear here. Seems like they're replacing spell power with strength and increasing stamina. That's probably because it's going to be turned into either enhancement or tanking set. Stormcaller, isn't that the tier 2.5, I think? And a bunch of other items. I'm not going to go, like before, I'm not going to go through each items. I'll check out the most interesting stuff and I'll point that out. But it also seems like there's a lot of random drops from Blackwing Lair that has been increased in damage. Lokamia and Sure Song Mageblade have been increased in physical damage that they do. But let's read this developer comment. The few changes above are aimed at hybrid tanks using both weapon damage and spell power for their threat generation, providing these options alongside Desecration from Tower of Karazhan should allow for proper weapon progression via weapons tailored around this fact. Yeah, I don't know. I think there should be a trade-off, either spell power based or physical damage based. I do understand that when you want to gain threat as an either enhancement shaman or a paladin, then you need both spell power and the physical damage part. But you just gotta be careful with this, because in PvP you do risk giving tanks who are already incredibly durable too much power in terms of output if you buff the damage of those weapons too much. So yeah, I hope the Turtle WoW team has this in mind as well when they upgrade the damage of spell power items. And then it seems there are some set bonus changes to different sets. Also, I'm not gonna go through all of these. You can pause the screen if you want to have a look at these. And we have some Onyxia's layer gear updates here as well. Seems like Deathbringer, Vizcag are getting some increased damage. And apparently some of the new avoidance stat on the Ring of Binding. And Saffron's Drape increased spell power and added this fortune stat 5%. That's 5%. That's a lot. And added some armor penetration on the Iskander's collar, this necklace. And we got a bunch of Blackwing layer gear updates as well here. Stat changes and damage updates and just a bunch of different, not only changes, but buffs and maybe even nerfs. So very interesting to see how this is all gonna play out. And that's it for item changes. Moving on to PvP then, because the class changes, I already went over all of those. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go check out this video for class changes. Now we'll be moving on to the PvP changes. Alright, this post will go over some of the bigger changes coming to PvP in 1.18.1. All these changes are set to go live shortly after release. PvP gear progression. PvP rewards. The old 2-tiered PvP armor set rewards will be sunset and will no longer be obtainable. Okay. Hopefully the appearance will still be obtainable, because that is some of the most iconic looking items or sets basically in the game. New armor set rewards will consist of 3 tiers for different armor types and different roles. Okay. Tier 1, a rare item set, item level 71. Then there's tier 2, which is an epic set, item level 77. And then there's a third tier, epic set, item level 92. The old PvP weapons will remain the same, with the addition of an extra 2 tiers under the current ones. Various new offset pieces and miscellaneous items will be obtainable through various PvP events. See below. I hope they also add some items for maybe not only set item, but trinkets and stuff that does different things, like interesting stuff, to the reputation rewards from the different battleground factions, like Defilers and Warsong Gulch and Aldrich Valley, stuff like that. But it sounds like tier 2 is probably going to be on par with the current, like that's equivalent maybe to the current High Warlord or rank 13 sets, right? And this is probably equivalent to the current rank 10 gear. And then this is a tier above, probably going to be equivalent to Nax/Karazhan gear, item level wise. I don't know. I do think that even me as a PvPer, I'm mainly a PvPer, I do actually think that the best gear should come from PvE, in my opinion. But that's just me. And now we can move on to honor. The ways of gaining honor will remain the same. Killing players, doing PvP objectives, etc. Honor gained through these ways will now be credited to the player immediately. This also implies that you will no longer be fighting for your spot to gain honor/RP based on weekly standings. Yeah, so basically we are getting the TBC and beyond way of gaining honor. You're gaining honor points as a currency, right? Honor will now be a currency to buy various new PvP gear and miscellaneous items with it. Honor gains throughout all activities that grant honor will be reduced by 10% of previous values. Cost of honor for the aforementioned items and gear will reflect the new gains as well. As some players were gaining hundreds and thousands of honor a week, the above change is simply to keep numbers in line and purely a visual change. Honor gains will be capped to 20,000 honor per week, resetting every weekly maintenance. That's good. So the people don't gamify the honor gain completely, because of course you can, if you're in a pre-made or something and you just keep crushing, you'll gain just an insane amount of honor, and you'll be able to buy all the gear you need straight away. So I think it's a good idea to have a weekly cap on that. I'm still just afraid of there no longer like being an incentive for you to participate in PvE if you end up being able to get all of your gear from PvP. And for somebody like me who prefers PvP, I need a gear incentive to actually want to participate in raids. Because if there's no real gear upgrade for me going into raids, then I'm just gonna pass on it. And I don't want that. I want to experience the entire game, but I want there to be incentives for me to actually do that. One of the things that killed the experience of the game for me back in TBC, back in 2007, and again in 2021, I think it was when we got Classic TBC, is that I would just do PvP, because there would be no incentive for me to go in and do raids, because that gear was useless in PvP. If you wanted the best gear for PvP, you'd only do PvP because that gear had resilience on it, and the gear from raids didn't. And I want an incentive to go in and experience these raids. So that is what I'm worried about, but I hope it's I know that they're not going to introduce resilience. They did a much better job with the PvP dampening, in my opinion. That's a much better fix, because that gives me the freedom to combine gear from raids and PvP if I want to. But I still just need that incentive for me to do raids, because I want to experience the entire game. I hope you guys get what I'm trying to say here. And I do firmly believe that raids is where the best gear should come from, because that takes coordination, it takes teamwork from not just two people or an arena team or something. It needs coordination, understanding mechanics, and a bunch of other things about the game that you don't get with just PvP. Lots of other things about PvP, that's understanding your entire toolkit, because in PvP, or in PvE, in raids, right, you're only maybe pressing a few buttons, while in PvP, you're making use of your entire toolkit. So there are pros and cons, but I just want to experience the entire game, and that the only way to do that, in my opinion, is combining PvE and PvP and making sure that they're both really attractive for both avenues of the game. But moving on to PvP ranks. PvP ranks remain in the game. Every time you would gain honor points, you will also gain a portion of that amount as rank points. Rank points are immediately credited as well. Having enough rank points immediately promotes you to a higher rank. Okay, so you no longer need to wait until every reset before you get your rank. You just get your rank straight away. Rank points decay every week. As before, you can't drop ranks from this decay as before as well. Okay, so if you haven't gained the new rank at the end of the week, because that's promoted immediately. If you haven't gained the new rank by the reset day, I think it's Wednesday, then you end up decaying in rank, maybe by a certain amount, but you cannot drop in rank. So if you just gained rank 7, you cannot go to rank 6. But if you gain rank 7 plus 50% of rank 8, so you're halfway to rank 8, but you stop there, and now it's the reset day, then you maybe end up losing a third of that progress you gained towards rank 8. That's how I'm understanding this. Rank point gains are not capped. Okay, so you can continue straight to rank 13 or 14. That's interesting. Most PvP rewards can be bought for honor. That can be bought for honor will also have a rank requirement. Buying these items will not consume or drop your rank. Okay, so there's still a rank requirement to be able to purchase lots of the gear that's going to require honor only. And I'm guessing that's going to be, mainly that's going to be the tier 1 PvP gear, and maybe parts of the tier 2. I'm guessing the tier 2 will also require some arena conquest points. And then I'm guessing something like tier 3 will probably require a specific rating as well in arena to make sure that this is not accessible to just everybody, only the ones with the highest skill, which sounds fair in my opinion. And I'm really glad that they are keeping the ranks in the game. Like, ranks aren't going away, it's just a different way of doing it. And then there's conquest points. some of the strongest PvP rewards will, on top of requiring specific PvP rank and honor cost, also have a conquest point cost. Okay, there are three things you need. You need the rank, you need the amount of honor, and you need conquest points. And maybe also arena rating. Let's see as we go on. Conquest points are gained through various ways. Achieving a high rating in ranked arena and being active for that week, distributed on weekly flush, various PvP, World PvP events, distributed immediately, Call to Arms Battlegrounds, distributed immediately. So that's pretty much just like in, I think it was in Ref, where normal battlegrounds, weekly battlegrounds and stuff like that started to reward conquest points. But now also, of course, these world events, which is awesome that they are giving us new world events, PvP world events. On the weekly maintenance, the system will distribute conquest points for arena teams and decay inactive ones. And then there's old system, the old system consequences. To streamline the process of going from the old system to the new system, the following actions will be taken. Players keep their current PvP rank. It will not be reset. Okay. Based on their PvP rank before the new system, players will gain a one-time honor points bonus upon the launch of the new system. Okay, so if you already have a specific rank, then you'll gain a specific amount of honor points according to your rank. So you have something to go and buy some PvP items straight away, basically. The old PvP gear sets will no longer be obtainable. That's sad to see. Hopefully the looks are going to be the same. Like, I'm guessing the looks of the tier 1 and the tier 2 is going to be hopefully the same as they already are. And then maybe the tier 3 is a new has a new look to it. At least love to see just one of these have the same old look, so that maybe I can transmog if I'm really a fan of a specific look. But yes, the old gears will no longer be obtainable, the old PvP gear sets. Players who own any of the gear sets will be able to keep playing with them, as the newer gear is consistently stronger. We don't expect this to last long. Okay, I hope they're not too much stronger. But of course, they should be a little bit stronger so that it keep up with the PvE gear to an extent. But again, as I mentioned before, I don't want the best gear to come from PvP. Actually, what I want is to see is the best gear coming from crafted gear, and the second best from drops in PvE, and the third best from PvP. Or maybe those two should be somewhat on par, but the best gear should definitely come, like be crafted gear, and then maybe it should require PvP gear should require some, I don't know, can't really say drops from PvP, but you could imagine requiring some honor points where you buy something at the honor vendor, a material that you need to craft a PvP item, crafted PvP item with it. That would make sense, maybe, and that item could maybe come from both PvE and PvP, so you get to choose how you want to obtain your PvP gear. That's just a thought I just threw out there, but yeah, let's move on. PvP dampening. As already discussed on our main post, the PvP dampening debuff introduced in 1.18 will now have dynamic reductions of magical and physical damage based on your class/spec instead of a flat number for all classes. And this is good because then I don't think this is going to be misused, but I think obvious, like really obvious outliers is going to get a specific reduction in PvP. So if you have classes that are sticking out enormously from other classes, or specific specs that are sticking out enormously from other builds in the game in PvP, then those are probably going to be brought down slightly. At least that's how I hope this is going to be used. Because you still want to have some correlation between what you're seeing in PvP or in PvE and what you're seeing in PvP, right? So something that looks really powerful in PvE or in raids should also stay quite powerful in PvP, just not overpowered, right? Rated arena restrictions. Note that with the start of the new system, we will also restrict some of the strongest cooldowns that players have access to in arenas. Please stay tuned for an inclusive list of everything restricted in the near future. So something like, for instance, lay on hands for paladins. I think this was also restricted in, was it TBC? Like obvious big stuff like that is probably also going to be applied here. And then we have some battleground updates. As previously already shown in our main post here, Thorn Gorge is coming to Turtle WoW, which is basically Eye of the Storm. Defeat foes and defend bases to lead your team to victory. Also note that Sonic Lake Valley will be disabled upon the rollout of this system, while we update the battleground to better reflect our current standards. That's good to hear. And lastly, PvP world events. Various new PvP world events will take place throughout Azeroth. Assault your enemy's faction base and defend your own in South Shore versus Torren Mill. That's really awesome. A classic. Before there were battlegrounds, there was this open world PvP happening constantly in Hellsbrad Foothills between South Shore and Torren Mill. And then there's another one here. We have capture and hold the flags versus your adversaries in the Red Wall Keep, which is Red Ridge Mountains, right? So here we have Red Ridge Mountains. So I'm guessing it's probably something over here maybe. We'll just have to see where it is actually located. So yeah, another interesting event. I hope this event is also coming to the PvE servers, right? It would be a shame if this was only on the PvP server. I'd love to see them opening up. So as soon as you enter the zone, when this event is ongoing, you're opening up for getting ganked, right? It's or any maybe it's instance or something. I don't know, but I hope it's open world, and within this time zone, you're flagged for PvP if you enter this zone while the event is ongoing, and maybe excluding hardcore characters. Make sure that you join in on the action, as these events will grant exclusive rewards such as offset pieces and a good portion of honor and conquest points. Very interesting. So yeah, I'm really excited with all these PvP changes. I'm really looking very much forward to how this is going to play out. I have a lot of confidence and hope in the Turtle WoW team, so can't wait for all of this to go live. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you guys in some PvP once this is all gone live, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.